Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's workshop. So today I wanted to make a few more pots and pans for the new Dress Shop Dollhouse kitchen. Now I have quite a collection of cast iron pieces, and I do have a few copper ones, but I actually wanted to add a little bit of variety to my collection. So in this frame, I'm literally cutting out some scrap plastic because one of the shapes actually looked like a little pan to me. And I know the plastic is clear, but I'm going to show you how I remedy that as well. And I did have some other things that I found quite useful. Now, this is the little pan or part that's at the bottom of many eyeshadow or makeup containers. Now, I did break up the actual compact to get these little pans out, but they're the perfect size. Now, these can actually be used just the way they are, but I'm going to do another treatment on them. So let me show you something else. Now, dolls, these are just some twist-off wine bottle lids. And I understand some people don't drink wine, but I'm sure you have some friends and family who do, and I'm sure they won't mind collecting them and saving them for you. Now, some of these little screw-off wine lids have a little insert in them, which is the perfect size and very useful as a lid. And I can show you an example of that a little bit later in the video. But I'm just using my electrical scissors to trim the lid down a little bit because the sides are pretty high. Now, if you'd like, you definitely can use it as a stock pot. Now, I am going to use it kind of as more of a Dutch oven type pan, so I feel like the side walls need to be a little bit lower. And be very careful when you're trimming this down. The edges can get a little bit sharp, so you want to be careful until you can sand it down to make the edges a little bit dull. Now, after you get it trimmed down to the height you want to take a nice sturdy file or some coarse sandpaper and really work those edges down so that they're no longer sharp and they're safe to work with. So now it's time to get ready for your finishing. So dolls, I ended up trimming down several lids, so I had quite a few pots and more than one finish that I wanted to use. So I used double stick tape and put them all on a little wooden block so that I could paint them simultaneously. So I started with the silver ones first. And while I was painting the silver ones, I remember the little lid that was made from the insert. Now, it was previously being used with another project or another set of pans, but I'm giving it a second coat of silver to be used with these pans. Now I'm using some more Testors paint, but I've chosen a color called Copper Penny. And although this is just paint, I really think it gives these pans a very authentic looking copper shade. And it is the best practice to allow the Testors paint to dry overnight before you handle your pans. Now in this frame you can see that I painted a couple of them with the white, which gives a really nice enamel look. So now I've used the copper, the silver, and the white for my pots and pans. Now here I'm adding a little clay handle. Now these little handles are very simple to make. I just rolled out some black polymer clay into some skinnies to the thickness I thought would look good. And then I drilled a tiny hole in the top of the clay piece just to start it out so that I could screw in a tiny eye loop. And if you don't have any eye loops, you can use a tiny piece of wire to get the very same effect. Now, after I screwed the little eye loop all the way into the tip of the handle, I went on to add it to the pan. Now, these pans, because they were the wine twist-off lids, they have little ridges in them. So I had to modify the little handles a little bit to make it fit to the side of my pan. I didn't show it here, but I filed it to put little ridges in the handle so that it would conform to the ridges in the pan. And then I added a little dab of the Loctite super glue gel to adhere the handle to the pan. Now, dolls, I'm really tickled about how realistic and authentic these little pans look with the copper paint. And I want to show it to you, like show you an actual copper pan to just show you the comparison. Now, this little piece is actually a little copper cap that is used for plumbing, and it is authentically a copper piece. But just holding it next to the one that I painted copper, I think it looks pretty good. Now this little copper piece is the perfect size for miniatures, and I'm simply gluing a handle to it. Now this handle was actually made from some aluminum wire, and aluminum wire is very soft, so if you hammer it a little bit, it will flatten, and it's very useful for a lot of different things. And I think it works great as a handle. Now I did bend the tip of it to make it like a hook, and I used the same type of handle on the little skillets that I created from the eyeshadow containers. Now, in addition to making saucepans and skillets, I also made a ladle to go with my stock pots. Now I created the ladle using the same type of handle, but I had these little brass bead caps that actually looked like cups to me. Now I actually made a couple goblets in another video, but I thought this would be the perfect size to be a long handled ladle for soups and stews for the dolls, and it's just big enough to be a doll serving size. So it just seemed natural to add my little hammered wire handle. Now I will consider painting it silver to match the stock pot that I made. Now here's that spare lid that I made for a previous project, and I'm just adding a little eye loop to the top center to be a handle. And it's really funny because it seems that screw-off wine caps are the same size because the insert came from another screw-off lid and it fits perfectly as a top for my stock pot. And I really love the tone of that silver tester's paint because I really think it makes the pot look somewhat industrial. Now I'm really getting excited about all the pots because I did make several and I intentionally gave them a variety of finishes, and I will be filling them with food in an upcoming video. Now making handles for stock pots can be made so many different ways. You can use staples, you can use broken or cut jump rings, you can even create handles with paper, but I'm bending some little pieces of wire into a shape that I think resembles a stock pot handle. And when I was done, I glued them to the side of the pot with my Loctite super glue gel. Now, dolls, if you enjoyed this video today and want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload a new video. Throughout the month of November and December 2024, you can look for me on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye-bye now, dolls.